Good afternoon. This is your County Executive Ed Day here for our weekly update on COVID-19 and other things that are going on in our wonderful county of Rockland. I want, first of all, a warning. Our power has been flickering a bit here in New City, so the video may appear to lose connection or stop. If anything like that does happen, we will have it in its entirety on our Facebook page and YouTube after we're done. So even if you don't see it for some reason, we will get it out to you. Quick update on our numbers locally here in Rockland. As of this morning, we've had a mere handful of hospitalizations. This is down from nearly 400 that we had throughout early April. Amazing turnaround here in Rockland. We do continue to see a couple of new positive cases each day, which serves as a reminder that COVID-19 is still a concern, and we cannot let down our guard. But again, I reiterate that we're looking at around 0.5% of those being tested, and there are a lot of testing being done, which is a very, very good thing. So again, it's something that we're living with. We may not be happy about that, but we're living with this virus right now, and best practices always help at this point. The face coverings, hand washing, good hygiene, and social distancing. Within these cases that we are seeing is well within the ability of a health department to trace as necessary to prevent the additional spread of the virus. I can just report to you now that the sun has just come out, so these comments about the storm are going to disappear very quickly, it looks like. I think we're going to catch a break. The storm came out very quick. You can see the latest numbers yourselves by visiting rocklandgov.com, rocklandgov.com, and going to our metric and map dashboards. We've made incredible progress in the past few months, and I have faith that we'll continue to head in the right direction. I know many have been asking about our businesses opening up. I'm going to tend to that a little bit later on because we got a number of questions on that. Throughout the efforts of multiple county departments, and credit where credit is due, we're making sure that our residents have what they need to protect themselves from COVID-19. We are still able to track areas that are most affected by this disease and target our efforts to these communities, and that is another way besides contact tracing of interrupting the spread of the virus. And these efforts have taken a county-wide approach. My office, the Department of Health, our Human Rights Commission, Youth Bureau, Fire and Emergency Services, and the Havasur African American Connection, HAAC, have partnered to distribute washable, reusable cloth face masks from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, August 5th. This will be in Havasur, the African American Memorial Park at the very end of Clinton Street. I'll say 41 Clinton Street for your GPS. It's off Broadway in Havasur. And again, this is 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, August 5th. So if you want to get up there to get these masks, by all means, we have them for you. That's what we're doing this for, to help everybody out. This is the latest public distribution that has come on the heels of masks being provided to dozens of food pantries, community organizations, nonprofits, houses of worship, barbers, hair salons, and other businesses throughout Rockland over the last 4 weeks. Again, to reiterate, we don't have all the answers for this virus, but we seemingly that these face coverings do work, and the more that we can get out to people, the better chance we have of keeping this virus at bay until we can get the one thing we're missing, a vaccine. And now I'm going to turn this over to my communications director, John Lyon, who, as we know him, he is the man behind the curtain. He's been fielding your questions today, and let's have it, John. Have at it, John.
Okay, we'll get right into it. Is the county or state considering a deal or an early retirement incentive to have people retire early in order to possibly hire back someone at a lower salary? Right. And while discussing this, how are the county's finances in general? We know this has taken a toll on a lot of people.
Look, we heard earlier this year that the state legislature was considering an early retirement incentive called ERI, but it did not gain any traction. It was not passed or seriously considered by the governor from the information we got. And while we have not announced an incentive locally, nothing is off the table when it comes to grips with the fiscal implications of this pandemic. We are examining every way of option to save taxpayer dollars. But I'll be very honest with you, we have looked at the ERI here in Rockland County. A phrase that's not used often in government, ROI, return on investment. The numbers do not seem to be panning out to make early retirement incentive be viable right now. It's been done a couple of times over the past dozen or so years with some success. In this particular case, our workforce, it doesn't look like it's going to play out. But again, we're not ruling this out right now. If we see a situation where we have to return our investment in making those moves, the one thing we do have here in Rockland County is something I insisted on when I came in. We have succession training in here. So if people move on, there is somebody ready to move into that position and handle the job, especially in managerial jobs. We've been taking steps since March to guard against a repeat of what happened in 2008, which led to double-digit tax increases and a $138 million deficit. Very frustrating because people saw this coming, and there was a failure to take action. That is not what is happening here in Rockland County, not with your county government. We implemented austerity measures back in March, which permitted our COVID-related and essential purchasing to take place. We instituted a hiring freeze in May, except for essential personnel and those working directly on COVID response. We immediately applied to FEMA disaster assistance, and we were one of the first municipalities in the country to have our reimbursement portal for COVID-related expenses up and running. We have also asked our federal representatives to include direct financial assistance for counties in any future federal stimulus bills. People have to understand the way this works. Monies that go to the state do not necessarily find its way down here to the counties. This is where the services are being delivered. We need that funding here in the counties, and that's just a fact of life. As expected today, we're sending over a resolution to the legislature eliminating 18 vacant and or unfilled positions that we have. That will save us almost $1 million this budget year and also next year. So these are some of the things we're doing. We're also vetting the vacant positions before recommending that they be eliminated, because we want to make sure that we're not just throwing darts at a board to picking positions off. The positions we're picking come with the full and open input of the department managers and commissioners. We are up against a fiscal tsunami right now. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I put this out there already. We stand to lose after 6 years of very hard work, getting out from under a deficit, paying back a deficit bond, putting money in the bank, so to say, but having a positive fund balance is what they call it. And some people have said to me, well, if you have a fund balance of $32 million, what's the big deal? Just return it to taxpayers. It doesn't work that way. The reason why we have that fund balance and the reason why we worked so hard to build it was exactly because of situations like we have now, unexpected expenses. If we had not done that, if we had not insisted on, we're supposed to attain about $55 or $54 million as your fund balance, according to government accounting principles. Excuse me. We're not even there yet. But if we had no money in the bank, no positive fund balance, and this hit us, we would be bankrupt. We already are paying deficit bonds off. We will be bankrupt. The county would be done. There would be no other way of putting it. And because we work so hard to get that balance up, we are now at least having a position where we can survive this if we take the appropriate action. These are things that I'll be sharing with you as we move forward here in Rockland County, because I want you all to understand what the challenges are. They are significant. They are not unbeatable. I don't believe in losing. Believe me, you all know me that way. So we're going to do what we have to do. The bottom line is this. We are going to do what we have to do to make sure that the Treasury is protected, that we continue moving forward here in Rockland County as we have going into this pandemic. We have one of the strongest economies in the state of New York. We had $8.4 billion in rateables on the books over the last 5 years or so. These are all tax-paying entities that we had, which made life a lot easier here to get through all the costs that we have to deal with here in Rockland County. So we're going to stay on that course. We're going to do what we have to do. We will make the tough decisions we have to make sure that this county survives and excels.
Okay. And the next question, getting back a little closer to the topic of COVID-19, this question came in that youth groups that are technically over 50 can't meet. This includes bands, scout troops, sport teams. Can you provide any clarity on this?
Okay, I will try because there's a lot of confusion coming out of Albany in this, and we've tried very hard in the control rooms. That's a place where we meet. We call in on a daily basis to get some sort of accuracy, some sort of logic to what's going on. In June, U.S. District Court Judge Gary Sharp ruled as the following: that New York State could not enforce any limit on outdoor gathering, provided that social distancing measures and requirements were followed. Presuming these activities that you're speaking of are held outside in a large enough space to maintain social distancing, these type of youth groups are able to meet. The ruling, if you would like to look it up, is Reverend Stephen Seuss, S-O-O-S, versus Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Okay. And we got a number of questions about this, either through Facebook Messenger or posted. When can gyms, bowling alleys, billiard halls, estheticians, and makeup artists either resume work or reopen their premises?
I'm going to start off by saying one thing. I absolutely share your frustration because a day does not go by on these calls in the control room trying to get some clarity on where we're going. I mean, we had a plan laid out by the state, 4 phases. It was all laid out. I give the governor and his staff credit for doing that. It was a well thought out effort that made sense at that time. It seems to have fallen down flat once on July 7th when Phase 4 came into effect. There is so much out there now along the lines you just heard. We have not yet received any new information despite bringing this up. This is infuriating. I can just tell you that straight out, and I understand your frustrations. Many neighboring states, those who were supposed to be our partners, if you remember, there was supposed to be a regional approach, not just the regions within the state. We're part of the Mid-Hudson region, but states around us, especially given our proximity. New Jersey, right next door to Rockland County. Connecticut, right next door to Westchester and Putnam County. It was supposed to be regional because, again, as we know, remember the days when gas was cheap in Jersey, the closeness of these other locations will change the habits of consumers, for example. So what happened is this fell apart. Apparently, we have industries that are open up in Jersey that are open up here, and vice versa. We have the same thing in Connecticut and Massachusetts for the region. It's Dutchess County. But refusing to allow these businesses to open, Governor Cuomo is killing them. I can't make it any more blunt than that. It is unacceptable, and we are now a month into Phase 4 of the New York Forward reopening plan, and there are still no plans for these industries. That is unacceptable. And you know something? This is no longer about public health and safety. It's not. It is about an ability or lack of same to assess obvious factors and make timely decisions. I'm going to give you an example to show you how frustrating this can be and what we as county execs are trying to do in this control room. Issue about driving schools, classroom, getting the permitting process, getting your license. This came up, and initially Phase 4, they were going to be opened up. Then the state turned around and said, no, you can't. I know driving schools have put together meritorious plans that were common sense. Social distancing issues were addressed. Again, these are not children. These are adults who are 16 years or over. So it's a manageable group. These places put together plans that made sense. I mean, everything that we knew about prevention of this virus was incorporated into the plan of action that was being laid out. We kept bringing it back on a daily basis to the control room. We kept being told they're bringing it back to have it looked at. It got to a point that myself and my fellow county execs said, what are you missing? Tap into our ability. What can we tell you? What is the issue back there that you're bringing us to? What are they ruminating about? What's the problem? Maybe we have an answer. Went on and on and on. 3 weeks it went on. You know what the answer finally was? It's okay to do Zoom meetings. Now, what in God's name could have not gotten that answer 3 weeks ago? If that's what the issue was, simply going online, that would have solved it. Meanwhile, we have people who've been laid off now. We have one office that I'm aware of that closed, one that almost went to Florida. This is what the results are of a lack of decision making. This is unacceptable, and it's got to stop. And now on top of it, after going through 3 weeks of battling over permit school for drivers. Now the next question came up. If you the school they wanted, what about the courses that get points off your license? Defensive driving courses. Guess what? That wasn't included either. So now that's the next question. So we're back to the same industry asking questions again about what can they do, because there's no online course available for that type of skill. They have to have a classroom setting. So again, it's frustrating. I'm going to say it as it is because you deserve to hear the truth. All right, I'm just going to tell you what's going on, and I will do everything in my power, as will my fellow county execs. We have a great bunch of county execs in the Mid-Hudson region. They'll be doing the same thing for their constituencies and for the entire region.
Okay. And we received a number of questions today, and continue as this goes on, about specific locations which do not appear to be following the governor's orders and are not enforcing mask wearing, face covering requirements. What can and should be done both in terms of reporting these places and enforcement of these issues?
Okay. Well, first of all, if you think that there's a violation of the emergency orders, and it's not something that's compelling and current to that moment, you should call the New York State Pause Hotline. That's 833-789-0470, 833-789-0470. That's number one. It'll be looked at. You may be looking at something that is not a violation. We don't know. That's what their job is. Their job is to look at the situation and make a determination. They will forward that back down here. The primary enforcement arm for the governor's orders is the local police. There's no ambiguity about that. There is no questioning about that. That is the charge of law enforcement to enforce these orders. If you are not happy with the response, like anything else, if you have a complaint, you can speak to a supervisor for that department, in this case a police department. You can speak to your town supervisor or village mayor who oversees the local police departments. There may be additional actions through their building department they could take instead of using the police department. We do work with the local governments. We had a couple of situations in Ramapo and Clarkstown in particular, and Stony Point, where we had a health department get involved, and they got involved in issues that, with a sanitary code, separate and apart from what's going on right now, but related to the mission of trying to correct a condition. So we do work together here. But again, as I said, the bottom line is that if you see something that's current and compelling and clear cut, if you see people together who are not wearing face masks, it could be one family. It's not a violation of the law. All right, it's not something the government is trying to stop families from being near each other. They're near each other no matter what you do. If you see something that's clearly a violation, you certainly can call the local police. And again, as I said, in terms of local actions here, the health department is engaged in education by and large for COVID-19. They send notifications out. They will keep people updated on the CDC, provide guidance to organizations who are looking to comply with the emergency orders where possible. But that's the effort. The effort is basically something that is usually going to be educational and instructional.
Okay. And as the sun is out now here in New City, can you provide us with a quick update on local conditions relating to the tropical storm that just rolled through?
Yeah, we had a rocky few hours there, and we got the word that the storm was a very fast mover, which is good to hear. The Palisades Interstate Parkway, the northbound exits were closed early today between 13 and 14. That was around 2 p.m. A tree came down, no injuries, thank God. Orange and Rockland advised me, and I want to tell you one thing because we tend to yell at the utilities all the time. Orange and Rockland, the CEO, Bob Sanchez, personally calls me on my cell phone when he sees compelling things going on, and gives me an update personally. And it's unlike a lot of other parts of life, but to have the CEO call the county executive, and I'm sure he does it for the other counties that they supply services to, it's a very, very positive thing because it gets information to me so I can get it to you, and gives all of us a better sense of what's happening. But right now we are at about 49,000 outages. As I said, we've been having some issues here in New City. There were 7 fire department calls for wires or transformers burning or down. 20 trees came down, obviously in whole or in part on county roadways. We have 170 miles of county roadways here in Rockland County. Some of the good news, though, New York State DOT has supplied us with additional tree crews, which is something that's very, very important to have. And working together, we have, in these kind of situations, O&R works together with the DOT, with their tree crews, or with our highway department, or the private tree crews, because you have to make sure that that power line is dead before they get up there in a tree to cut a tree down. So there's a collaboration of sorts here operationally that goes on. But thankfully, it's a very powerful storm. It went through extremely fast. I think at this point, even the high winds that we predicted to see on the back end of the storm will not come to pass at this point, or they may be winding down. But again, it's a good opportunity to remind you that never assume O&R knows about a power outage, and that goes to anybody right now. Call them, or you can go to their website at oru.com/outage, oru.com/outage, and John will be putting this on the comment section of our Facebook page, so you will have it there. You get that from any computer, tablet, or mobile device. You can text out OUT to 69678. That's my ORU 69678, or simply call 877-434-4100, 877-434-4100. But it looks like we've gotten through the worst of this storm so far, so that's a positive thing. Just a couple of websites, questions you may have on what's supposed to happen in locations, are people complying with the law, what's expected of businesses to do, things of that nature. You can contact forward.ny.gov, forward.ny.gov. I mentioned earlier about the pause hotline, 833-789-0470, and also ny.gov if you want to see what the emergency orders actually say, for example. ny.gov is your state website, and there's a lot of information there. And finally, your own county website. I mean, pretty much everything you want to know about what's going on in Rockland County, services are provided, and especially in the COVID-19, tremendous amount of information there, and that is rocklandgov.com, rocklandgov.com. And we're good.
That's it. We do have a few birthday messages in the chat too.
I appreciate that. Another day older, another year older and deeper in debt, I guess the song goes. But no, thank you very much. I just want to let everybody know, I was literally blown away by some of the outreach that I got for my birthday. It's great feeling. And look, I look at you as all my neighbors. It's the way I was raised as a kid. You have a great family around you. So I just want to thank all of you for your good wishes. And I guess until next week, we'll be back. We'll bring you some more information on COVID-19 and other things going on in Rockland County. Until then, have a wonderful afternoon.